Toya had previously made his engagement official with 4 of the ladies at the same time. And he was on the hunt for ancient floating places known as Babylon in order to obtain a powerful weapon to stop the invasion of the crystal monsters known as Fays. Then, on his way to find the ruins of Babylon, Toya saved many slaves in that desert, but they lacked any special skills, so Toya decided to open a book cafe to provide them with work. So Toya opened a book cafe and given the job to the slaves. His idea to open a book cafe becomes a super hit in an instant. This book cafe was made by Toya with his null magic, so Will gets jealous because it reminds him of his grandpa who was also able to use a gravity type of null magic. Having that idea, Toya bought only Yumina this time for a killing job at the guild. Her eyes were drawn to a giant crab killing job, which she then took officially from the guild. But the registrar Prim requests Toya to bring in more of the novels that are popular among girls. The novel's name was The Order of the Rose, and it was a request from a customer. So Toya agreed to stock more of the light novel in his book cafe for them. Bro doesn't have a clue about its genre, so Yumina tells him about it, that it was actually based on a story about male night love, in short a BL novel, and that Lin suggested it. What was even more surprising was that Yumina was aware of this type of book. So actually she knew the author very well, and she goes by a different name in the book as Real Refresh, because her real identity is of a firstborn princess of the Refresh Kingdom. And even her father is unaware that she is a writer. Yumina knew her since childhood because the Refresh Kingdom and the Belfast Kingdom are long-standing allies. Anyway, a promise is a promise. But that headache is for later. For now, it's time to finish the guild job. They arrived at the location of the giant crab, and Yumina casted a binding spell to immobilize that crab, and Toya tested the gravity spell on it, which proved successful as it effortlessly took out that crab, and for completing this task, Yumina rose to the same level as the others. With that said, Toya hoped to get the book Prim had mentioned, and if possible, Toya wanted a list of other famous novels. So Prim gathered other girls to list up all the famous novels that were a hit among girls. Strangely enough, it was all a BL novel. Poor Toya then gets to the Kingdom of Referees to buy those books, but as Toya gave the list to the owner of bookstore, she took it that Toya is into BL stuff. He explained that he just needed it for his own bookstore, but it's just effortless when it comes to women when they get into their world of imagination. While she was gathering his list, Toya took his time to buy another book for his store, but a girl approaches there to buy the same book that Toya had on his list, a novel called Rosemeji. But it was the last piece of volume they had on the store that Toya had already purchased. She tries to bargain with Toya for that book and sneaks a peek at all the novels he had purchased. Interestingly, Bro had all of the BL novels, so his reputation was building in that sort of stuffs, and it was pointless trying to explain to this girl as well, just like that store owner. Her name is Real, and she is the infamous author of The Order of the Rose. She offers Toya an autograph in his book in exchange for letting her have the Rosemeji novel, but Toya doesn't believe she is the author and believes she is just a cheap scale, so in order to expose her, Toya picked up her identity as a princess, but his plan fired her brains because she is the real princess, or perhaps the real author. And this sensitive information was not even known to her father, so she gets into her wild imagination that Toya wants to torture her in order to get closer to his younger brother. So Toya snapped her back to reality with that chop, and to close her wilderness Toya tells her that he heard about her from Yumina, the princess of Belfast, and that Yumina is his fiancée. Real thought Toya was going after the king by marrying Yumina, so she got another chop hit by Toya. He bought Yumina to explain to this idiot. And soon after Toya gave her the Rosemeji novel she was drooling after, Toya just went to the workshop to make a replica for Real. It was a real pain dealing with that girl. But the trip was worth it because it attracted more customers and the guild workers are overjoyed to get their lovely BL novel to read. Then a girl asks for a novel that Will has no idea where it is, but Lin saves him from embarrassment. It depressed him a little, but Toya thanked him for that wonderful idea of a gravity spell. So in exchange, Toya granted him one wish that he desired, so he wants to be strong to protect the one he has a crush on. Toya understands his feelings, so he introduced him to a royal knight. And right away he began his training. Els had just finished her daily training at the training area and wanted to go to the Silver Moon Inn for a nice bath, but there he met Azenka, a famous cloth merchant. And he tells Toya about the girl's cloth he had given idea has been completed, so he took Els there to try it on. It was a Chinese outfit, but damn it, just shines on her way too much. It was a nice day. Then Lin's bought a new hit novel recently released by Real, and Toya gets cranky because it is similar to his own story, lol. It's a cute story about a guy marrying a princess to go after the king. After that day, Toya chose to go to the Regulus Empire to get their side of the novel to stock up in the bookstore, but when he arrived, the capital was in complete chaos. As there had been a coup planned by the military, their Toya saved a knight from those military dudes, but his wounds were deep but not dangerous, so Toya treated him and left him at a random house. Toya rushes to the king's castle to save him first. Finding them there could take time, so Toya uses his phone to locate nearby person. And as he got it, Toya rushed in to save that girl from those traitors. She got her heart flutter to see Toya in action like that. She was Princess Lucia. And luckily her knight Carolina came at the right moment to be her aid. She was a little curious about Toya. So, to calm her down, he told them that he had just arrived in the kingdom with his teleportation magic. Upon hearing this, Carolina begs him to save their king and Prince Lux. So they went to the king's room only to find him under the feet of their army chief Bazar. Toya asked him why he was planning a coup because he doesn't understand the situation well, so according to him, the king has a mental illness and thus is incapable of ruling the kingdom. So he wants to take over in order to break the treaty with the Belfast kingdom and wage war, but waging war against Belfast means going to war with other surrounding nations. But Barzor isn't afraid of them because he has the power to summon a demon lord from the depths of hell, which he obtained with a bracelet and by offering all the criminals in the jail. And that bracelet has the power to absorb the magic from its surroundings in order to gain an advantage over its enemy, so Toya turns to physical attack. But he has yet another bracelet for physical attack, which is his biggest trump card that he can use to defeat anyone, and truly magical and physically can't harm him. He truly does become invincible. To make matters even more worse, the devil cancels out any magic directed at him, and when combined, he truly does have the power to conquer any kingdom on his hands. In fact, even Toya realized that he had become the strongest man in the world. So, for the time being, Toya has teleported King, Lucia, and Carolina back to his home in Belfast, and as a parting gift, Toya has cast a slip spell for him to make him even angrier as he returns to Belfast to plan their next move. To be honest, Toya always gets into trouble when left alone. But this is a full-fledged war, and the Regulus kingdom has 10,000 soldiers to the king's 1,000 imperial knights, but Toya appears to have a truly evil plan to defeat that Bazar. So for King Regulus, they were fortunate that Toya arrived in time to save him. So Toya left to report this to the king, and Yumina became excited that Lucia is interested in Toya. As for the king, he received both good and bad news at the same time. The good news being that Yumina will be getting a younger sister or brother sooner, and the bad news, as you all know. Apart from that, the king has awoken, but there is still one concern, and that is the first princes, so Toya used his memory spell to see how Lucia's brother looked like. As it turns out, it's the same guy he saved and left in that random house, but luckily, that house is under the command of General Rosmero, a loyal subject, so the prince is most likely safe there. Then, on another day, Toya and others launched an all-out attack on Bazar, and he thought that Toya was a fool, but he underestimated him and released the demon again. But Toya used his blade with gravity magic on that demon, putting it back in its proper place, but Bazar was still confident in his own abilities to fight. But Toya already had a plan for that. He made a glass prison with a dead slime in it. Usually when a slime dies after an hour it gets really stinky. Toya used a gate spell to put that moron inside until he passed out so he could remove his bracelet. After that, Toya used his phone to broadcast the king's word, announcing that they are safe and the culprit has been apprehended, but Toya now has a new member in his harem, Princess Lucia. So, for now, let's call it a day, but for the next part, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates from our channel, and until then, take care.